Here, Australians have paid tribute to the Paris victims and stood in solidarity with the French people at memorials right around the country. Our reporter Rachel Pupazzoni is in Sydney and reporter Robert Baird joins us from outside the French consulate, St Kilda Road in Melbourne. Good morning to you both, Rachel, and of course the tricolour, the blue, white and red, has been proudly displayed, but in lights in Sydney.
That's right, beautiful images of the Sydney Opera House lit up in the three colours, blue, white and red, for 2 nights now, and they'll be lit up again this evening. We've seen that image reflected on buildings all around the world and many in Australia, and of course Australia's most iconic and well-known building, the Sydney Opera House, one of those. Another way that we've been paying tribute here in Australia to the victims and their families in Paris is yesterday. The French flag was erected on top of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Now that flies alongside the Australian flag as another way to pay respects. We've seen gatherings of people throughout Sydney over the last couple of days in response to these attacks as a way for people to come together and share their grief and support each other. We saw gatherings in Martin Place, yesterday a church service at St Andrew's Cathedral, and another church service will take place at the St Mary's Cathedral, that's the Catholic Cathedral, tonight at 6:30. The New South Wales Premier Mike Baird is expected to attend that service. He was also at yesterday's service and he spoke outside of the need for communities to stay strong.
We are stronger standing together, and there is solidarity across the world against these attacks. And they may well try and take our values, our freedoms, what we believe in, but they can't and they won't. We are united together. We will stand against these actions, and what you are seeing across the world, obviously in France, in Beirut and others, is a resilience against these attacks and a determination to stand against them.
New South Wales Premier Mike Baird there. And Robert Baird there in Melbourne, have people been turning up to the consulate there in Sydney Road with their own tributes?
Yeah, we've been watching quite a lot of people on their way to work or elsewhere this morning, stopping by to reflect and adding to this growing shrine here at the honorary consulate here. The tricolor flag, as you can see behind me, is at half-staff there or half-mast. And Melbourne as well, like other cities, have had buildings lit up with those colours overnight, some of its most iconic buildings. Later on this evening, there will be another gathering in Federation Square where the honorary consul general herself will be there to speak. People are encouraged to wear white so that the Paris peace sign, Peace for Paris sign, can be made in amongst all the people there. Now, Melbourne's French community has also gathered together to try and come to terms with this attack. And I went to a church service yesterday in Melbourne's East, and I spoke with one man who said that he had been anxiously trying to contact 2 friends of his because he knew that they had plans to dine at the Petit Cambourge restaurant, of course the scene of such horrible violence during those attacks. He was relieved to find that they'd had a change of heart and they'd actually decided to stay home. So the pair, he said, had been saved by God. Now I spoke with some other parishioners at that church service who are still just coming to terms with this attack. Let's hear what some of them had to say.
I'm very, very bad. I'm very sad. I don't understand why these people are. These crazy people are. These crazy people are.
I feel shocked. I feel appalled. I feel disgusted. In French, we would say I am écœuré, which means I'm feeling sick, disgusted, and we want to show our solidarity, our compassion for all the French-speaking people and all the French people in Paris.
A great deal of shared discussed this morning. Good to talk to you, Robert Baird and Rachel Pupazzoni. Thanks so much to you too.